We got work to do.
Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Kristen.
And we can see each other.
I felt like I said that really weird and very strange.
We're real out of practice, y'all.
It's
In the
been
2 months that we've
3
been
months?
gone, our recording... Oh, has it been 3 months?
Like 2 to 3 months? Yeah, since December, like early December, since we recorded.
Oh, wow. That's terrifying. Also, in that time, the system that we use for recording has had some updates, and we can now see each other. It's got a little video on here, so we can see our beautiful, unwashed faces.
I know, yeah. Christine has to
Or
see
washed.
this really
Really
ugly face. Yeah, it's a wash face, which means that it's terribly ugly.
No. I was meaning me.
No, you look amazing. Probably because of your selfie light, perhaps if you have it on. I need to get one. We were talking about this before we started recording.
Yeah, get real professional with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's weird because it feels like, in the time since our last episode that we put out, like, on one hand, it feels like very little has happened. We haven't really done much. And on the other hand, it feels like a lot has happened.
Yeah, that's true. I totally forgot that we had like a week without electricity and water and lived through a freaking winter storm over here.
Yeah, it was kind of a mini apocalypse. Y'all probably heard that Texas got hit really hard by the winter storm a couple weeks ago. And, thankfully, Kristen and I did pretty well. There were some busted pipes and some leaks happening, but that was the worst of it. I mean, we didn't have electricity or water here and there. So that was really fun. But a lot of people got hit really, really hard. Like, some people just lost everything. And hopefully it's obvious as to why. Like, we live in Texas. It's literally a different part of the world where temperatures do not get that low. And when they do, we've had snow before, but it never stays so cold that it sticks. So it just kept refreezing every night. And we were just really screwed. That doesn't happen here. So we were not ready.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. We were actually like supposed to record. I think like that week, and then the winter
Yeah.
storm hit, and we were like, oh yeah, this is not happening.
Just
Like
kidding.
we're gonna have to reschedule. So yeah, it was just a lot. And then apart from that, I mean, I think we've been gone because just work has been so busy. I think I tweeted out like, hey, we're like buried under work. Because I was working on that one deadline, I was like working until the 5 o'clock in the morning on a couple of
Yeah.
nights. It's just very,
I
very
know. I
busy.
was like
So
seeing her name on documents that, had been edited at like that time of night. And it was like, what are you doing? You're insane.
is this you waking up or not going to sleep? Like,
which end of the night are you on? It was rough.
right.
Yeah, the beginning of the year was really tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited to get back to recording. I was telling Kristen about my potential new hobby, which is like canning foods and doing some light doomsday prepping. After a couple weeks ago, it really kind of makes you think that maybe you should know how to can some food. Can't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can be prepared for sure.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, because it just made me feel so helpless. Like, suddenly we didn't have any of our resources, and I didn't know like how to take care of myself. Like, what do? You rely on the grocery store and McDonald's, and you can't always do that.
Yeah. No, that's completely true. It was funny though, because that week, because we couldn't go to the grocery store, we couldn't go out and order anything in. It really forced me to cook things that were like in my fridge for a long time, or use canned goods that I hadn't used. And so I made like vegetarian chili,
Mm.
that like with ingredients that I would have never like have thought to put in there. And yeah, that was
It
like
was probably
one kind
delicious.
of good thing. Yeah, it was really good actually. It was really good. But that was one good thing that came out of it. I don't know that I like
Hmm.
necessarily lost any weight during that week, but I ate really good and healthy
I
for
didn't either.
like the first time.
Because, well,
you know?
I had those Oreos that we had planned on eating whenever we were gonna like record and do our thing, but that didn't happen. So I had a whole package of
Exactly.
Oreos and I ate them all, and then I wanted more Oreos. So as soon as we could go out, the grocery stores weren't open, but there was one gas station that was open, and I bought all their Oreos, and then I just ate them. So I did not lose any weight. I think I gained some because I
Yeah,
just
I
like
ate those
ate my
Oreos as well.
feelings in Oreos.
Yes. Yeah. Also,
Oh
any
man.
weight that I did lose during that week, I regained it immediately because for some reason my brain went into I haven't been able to order any pizza for a week. I need to get pizza right now.
I'm
And
starving.
so the first thing we did, yeah, the first thing we did when things opened back up, it was like I want some pizza. And I ate some pizza, man. But yeah, it's been like 3 months already, or 2 months, and it's already been an insane 2021 for us. But I think we're really glad to be back here. I'm trying to remember like what else happened this year. We've just been really busy. I haven't really done. I've been okay. So I have made an attempt to read more. I have
Me
been
too.
participating
What are you
in a
reading?
little bit of a book club. Um, so I read The Neverending Story,
Cool. I've never read it.
and um it's really cute. I would highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Um and then we also read, what did we read? Oh, Bluebeard by Kurt Vonnegut. And so
Okay.
that was I really enjoyed that also. And
Cool.
then I also listened to an audiobook, Light of the Jedi, this like Star Wars book, which is like the nerdiest thing that I've ever read or listened to. So,
I love
yeah.
that. That's cool.
I'm just like nerding out over here.
It's
So
just
that's
nice
I
to
if
take
I
it
would
in.
say that I have any resolution, it's that. Yeah.
I'm sort of like morally opposed to resolutions. I think we've talked about this before, but I feel like it's one of those things because I get rebellious when like people tell me what to do. So it feels like one of those things where someone's
So
like,
even when you tell yourself what to do.
well, they expect me to have a resolution because you're supposed to have a resolution for the new year. And I'm like, no, fuck you. I don't want to.
Mm,
And I just get real,
yeah.
uppity about it. So I guess in hindsight, though, if we were going to, give myself a resolution too, that would be one that I could say that I've done. I started reading Bad Blood, which was it was the book that kind of told the whole story of Elizabeth Holmes and her company Theranos that was a complete sham that did the finger pricking test.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that really incredible podcast about it. And the book is supposed to be really, really good. And so I'm still kind of at the beginning where he's like describing, just kind of like setting up the story and the context. But it's good so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, and that was really good. It's kind of like adult fantasy. So if anyone's interested in a book that might, she said she wrote it and she wants it to fuck you up a little bit, and I think that it can potentially, but it's real like dark and magic-y and very cool. And
That's
then I
very cool.
started reading a series by her. The Grisha series. Apparently Netflix, I think, picked it up, and they're going to be making a show series about it. And so I'm on the second book. I don't remember what it's called, like Sword and Stone or some shit. But uh, they're pretty good. They're real fluffy. It's
Fantasy
kind of more
also.
like young adult. Yeah, it's not quite as adult as Ninth House. It's a little more like maybe for high school level or even middle school. But they're written pretty well, and it's a good story, so I'm enjoying them. It's a quick read.
Well, that's awesome. See, look at us. We're reading, we're setting good examples. What the hell? We're awesome.
We are just the picture of intellectual.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and like last year, the only thing that I was able to actually read because of just like COVID brain and like new mom brain and all of that stuff was Twilight. Like I just reread
Oh
Twilight.
yeah.
That's it. That's all I read last year. Um, so
I don't think I read
I'm
anything
glad
last
I'm like
year, so
actually,
good for you.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, good for us. It feels good.
Um,
I like reading, I've discovered
yeah.
or rediscovered that I like reading because it makes you feel very accomplished, but you didn't really do anything. You just kind of sat there and took in the story, but then you look up and you're 100 pages in and you're like, damn, look at all that book I read. And it feels like you really accomplished something.
Yeah. I try to cuz I have my Kindle and I like reading certain books on there, but at the same time I like buying the book for that sense of accomplishment. So
Yeah.
I do both.
Yeah. I need to pick up my Kindle again. I haven't used that in quite some time. So I've just been buying, I don't know, I guess to maybe like feed my ego and that sense of accomplishment. I've been buying the nice like hardback versions of them, and then I can put them on my shelf, and feel really good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Be like,
Sorry,
"See
Di.
that? I fucking read that right there." Well, let me read that email that I got or that we got uh
Yes,
in
please
December
do.
actually. So Mandy wrote in to us in December, and I just wanted to read this because it was so sweet. She says, "Dear Kristen and Christine, I'm a diehard SPN fan, but new to your podcast, and in 2 weeks' time have already listened halfway through season 3. I am now officially obsessed, and obviously extremely far behind." She says, "You just posted the French mistake," so she's trying to catch up. "So I have all these questions and comments for you that I'm keeping to myself. However, I do need to make a meta comment because I just had a meta moment. I had just finished your podcast episodes about season three's episode 9 and 10, and Christine had mentioned how she had a bonding moment with SBN when she recognized Sam and Dean's cover names, Bachman and Turner, as a reference to the Bachman Turner overdrive in the episode Malleus Maleficarum. She says, I was deeply moved by your being moved by this bonding moment.
I'm so glad.
She says, you two then discussed the music for the next episode, Dream a Little Dream of Me, and played a clip of the music Sam's listening to in the bar. I decided to rewatch that episode after finishing your recap of it on the podcast, and when that scene started with the music Christine had mentioned and played, I had this crazy meta moment where I bonded with your podcast because it felt like I was having an actual memory of when I had discussed this episode with a couple of fellow superfans, which, by the way, I
Aw.
have none. I do not have any supernatural buddies. Everyone I know thinks the show is quite silly. Aw, I used to think so too and thought so all the way up to Swan Song when I was shocked to find myself sobbing like crazy for an hour after the finale.
Wow.
I can't describe to normal people how much supernatural means to me. I would appear utterly insane. So to be able to share this love of Sam and Dean with you via your podcast and to have just had that bizarre reality bending bonding moment is a really incredible gift. I'm so thankful to both of you.
I love that
Aww.
so much. That's really I don't know, such an articulate and emotional and kind way to describe her listening experience. I'm so glad that we've been able to like be the supernatural nerd buddies you've always wanted.
I know. I just love that so much. I think that like with anything that you um invest time in listening, whether it be a podcast or whether it be a TV show that you're watching or whatever, there are always like little moments that you might connect to. And so I love that she was able to
Mhm.
describe that moment for her. And also just that we were able to be that for her. That's amazing
Yeah.
and um, definitely makes it worthwhile, you know,
Oh,
to connect
absolutely.
with folks like that.
And also, to take the time to write in, like I've definitely had podcasts or shows or things like that that I've felt that way about, but never necessarily took the time to write to let them know. So that's really appreciated for all of you who write in, no matter if it's just a question or a comment or whatever it is. Like that always means a lot to me too, because it means that you had to like be moved enough to make the effort to write. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mandy. And she says, see you guys in 3.5 years, which, yeah, sounds about right. Well, maybe longer at this rate.
It really might be.
um, yeah. So thank you guys, or thank you, Mandy. But you guys can write in to us at highwaytohellpodcast@gmail.com, or DM us, whatever works for you.
Yes. Thanks, Kristen. That was great. And thank you, Mandy. Okay, so I think we've just sort of prattled on and not even talked about our topic for this episode. We obviously just had a lot to get out. It has been a while since we've recorded. So, this episode, we're going to be talking about season 6, episode 16, and then there were none. And this episode, I have the Supernatural Wiki description. They describe it as the episode when Sam, Dean, and Bobby run into Rufus and the Campbells, all hunting the cause of an upsurge in supernatural activity, and tensions erupt into violence. So there's a lot going on there. I felt a little funny taking notes for this episode because it's kind of in a microcosm. Like we just
Hmm.
have this one little group the whole episode stuck in this one building. It's kind of it reminded me of like movies where, they're trying to like root out the one bad guy and you don't know who it is and it's just very kind of like wrapped up in this little world.
Hmm.
So while taking notes for the episode, it was just kind of like and then this happened and then these guys did this and then these guys did this and then it's just
Yeah. There's not really a lot that happens in this episode, but at the same time, like a lot happens,
yeah.
like big things. So totally get that. I thought the same thing while watching the episode because it's a lot of just like little little actions, looking for so and so and things like that. So I can totally see that. That being said, I think I liked the episode. For the most part, I was very, very sad and upset and hurt that they would kill off Rufus.
Me too. That was shocking to me.
Like, why? Like, why are you killing off Rufus?
I
Come
don't
on,
know.
Supernatural.
I don't know. And I mean, I guess it could happen to any hunter at any time, right? That's the risk they run, but he just seemed so seasoned and like right up there with Bobby and I wanted him to stick around.
Yeah, same. I'm not at all happy with the writers on this one.
It was really rough. I think I cried for him the first time I watched it. Just a tear, a tear or two. But I just
Yeah.
loved him. We really liked him a lot, when he first came on the scene, and he's been a great character.
Yeah. I think, you know, his death was hard, of course, but I think the moment where I went like I was dropping like whatever I was doing and went like was when he like told Bobby like I can't forgive you. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
get there. But like, oh my god, that hurt me so much. I was like, "Oh no, Bobby."
I
And
know.
then that's, you know.
Because I don't know, like we've all probably been in situations where you've done something that you feel really bad about and you want someone to forgive you and they can't or won't. And it is a horrible feeling. No matter like what, you know, how bad it was, whatever you did, like whatever degree it was, it just feels really terrible. And it just hurts to see that happen to Bobby. And you know that he's trying to like make a connection. He really cares about Rufus and trying to apologize. And ugh,
Yeah.
that was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
So they're just making Bobby more of a tragic character, more than he already is in
yeah,
this episode. So
totally. Um, so let's see. This episode was directed by Mike Roll, and written by Brett Matthews. I had my tab up earlier, but I had to close my browser and start it over. Let me pull this back up, but I wanted to see what other episodes Mike Roll may have directed.
okay, that name does sound familiar. I do have it open. Okay, so he goes all the way back to season 2 actually with the usual suspects. And I feel like the one that we've been most happy with out of his are is the monster at the end of this book.
Oh yeah, I did love that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah, I agree with that. He's done quite a few,
mhm.
but not many more. He only has 2 more episodes in season 7, and then that's it.
Oh, and it looks like Brett Matthews this is his last one. But he's only done a few in this season.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know that I have a whole lot to say about the writing or the directing. I think that they were a good combination. It was well directed, you know, the action shots and all of that. I think were well done, and it had a good pace to it. You know, even though it was kind of that strange setup for the episode, it didn't lag too much. Um,
Yeah. I think those types of episodes can definitely, especially since you've seen it before. It's been done before many times.
yeah,
Um they can kind of wear on you, but I feel like this one didn't lag. It didn't feel like I never got bored during this episode, you know.
right. Yeah, I wasn't like, okay, move it along.
I just started laughing because I just realized that it takes place in a cannery.
And I'm like weirdly obsessed with canning now.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's just fate.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I literally have like started a Google Doc to like take notes of all of the canning tips and shit. You know, say what you will, guys. Maybe it's a sign of my mental health right now. What it took was going through a few days of not having power or water for me to learn how to homestead. I don't know.
Okay, whatever you have to do to survive.
Exactly. Whatever it takes. Um, okay, some other info about the episode. It aired on March 4th, 2011, which is funny because this is going to be coming out just a day before March 4th, 2021. So it's been 10 years.
That is crazy.
Uh huh. Pretty weird. Maybe a little serendipitous that we waited this long. We did not have any music. So this is normally the part where I would go through some songs if they featured any, but they didn't have any. But I thought actually, I was paying attention to the score, and there were some parts where I really liked the music that they made for the episode. So I felt like they did a good job just with the show score in this one.
Yeah, definitely. I think I did notice that as well.
So we have our episode recap, the then segment. We get some flashbacks of episodes where we had Rufus, mainly the one where he showed up on Bobby's doorstep asking for help burying a body. Then we get flashbacks of Samuel when he was rounding up different creatures and when Sam was helping him and he didn't have a soul and they were taking them somewhere secret. and then Dean telling Samuel that he'll kill him. This was when Samuel had sold out Dean and Sam to Crowley and was totally fine with them dying. He fed them to those ghouls, and Dean was really pissed, and he said, "If I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you." And then we get the segments of the Mother of All coming up to Earth from Purgatory, and Bobby giving Sam and Dean some information about her from that book.
Yeah. It's kind of strange. I'm kind of just realizing that the last episode was the French mistake, right? Where we were dealing mainly with Raphael and the angels and Balthazar and these like angelic weapons. And so at the very end, Castiel um reveals that he now has these angelic weapons, and and so that's where we leave off. And then the episode not even the episode before that, but like 2 episodes ago is like when this Mother of All came out, I think, or something like that. And it's like,
Yeah, it wasn't
what,
the last one for
like,
sure.
what's been happening during that time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good question. I mean, now that I think about it, maybe they kind of answered that a little bit. Because at the very beginning of the episode, I'll just go ahead and explain this part um, in a second, but like maybe it kind of tells us what's been going on. I don't know, in these last couple episodes in the background.
I think I had interpreted it as like the Mother of All, like because they show that map where she's like influencing things happening, and I think I had thought that had happened in like a day or a night or something, but
Yeah.
maybe it's been happening over the course of like a few weeks.
Yeah, it's always kind of weird with these things because I don't know. I feel like whenever we've talked about it before, we've expected some like big, huge event to just kind of like happen and it be, I don't know, kind of awesome. But then it's like a really slow burn.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't know why. These angels and demons just like to take their time, I guess. I don't know.
It's in the budgets. What's it's in the budget.
Shh, we don't have to talk about that. So let me see. Where this episode starts is that there's a man who is a semi truck driver at a gas station, and he is fueling up his truck. And then we see the Mother of All walk up to him, and she's in the same white nightgown that we saw her in before, and she's not wearing any shoes. And she asks him for a ride, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just need a ride." So he says okay, kind of weirdly. And then they get into his truck and he asks her name and she says it's Eve, which is kind of an interesting choice. I'm not sure if we're going to get any story there or not, but her name is Eve. She tries to like come on to the truck driver and like make out with him, but he pushes her away and he's like, "No, you don't. This isn't right for you. Here's what you really need," and hands her a pamphlet about Jesus and says, "This is what you need." And then she starts kind of debating with him. And she's like, "Well, you know, Jesus was just a man." And he's like, "Of course, but, you know, he's our savior." And she's like, "You know, you don't know anything about this. Your apocalypse has come and gone, and he never noticed. But a mother would never abandon her children like that." And she's like, "I have a secret to tell you." And he's like, "Okay." And she gets really close to his ear and then like bites his ear, and the scene cuts. But then we see him showing up at home and like standing in the doorway to his bedroom where his wife is asleep. And he goes over to the bedside where she's sleeping and holds up an axe. And she wakes up and sees him and starts screaming, and he kills her. And then that's the end of the beginning scene. We get the title. So that's fucked up.
Yeah, and I had totally forgotten that she had revealed her name to be Eve. Um because she is supposed to be representative representing Eve, like from the
Like
Bible,
Adam and
like
Eve.
Adam and Eve. Yeah. And that's, I guess I forgot that, having watched the show a long time ago now. And it's so strange because we had been presented the mother of all as something evil. The vampire is like, the alpha vampire is like, oh well, the mother of all, that's where we all come from. And I would have expected more like Lilith, right, which we've already seen,
Right.
who was like the first demon or whatever she was in the show. But yeah, it's Eve. Um, so that's, I'm curious to know. I don't remember if we'll learn more about that and that connection, but something's, I don't know. They just made her so evil.
I know. And that's kind of why I was holding out. Like, I wasn't really sure if she was meant to be Eve, because she clearly is like the mother of like these monsters and demons. And it's like, hmm, are you the same person? Are you the same entity? I don't know. But that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna need
Hmm.
some explanation there. So Bobby and Sam and Dean, and Bobby is telling them that he's gotten all kinds of weird reports lately. But he pulls out a map and shows them where every incident has taken place, and they all have been happening along this specific highway. Dean says Highway 180. And the latest guy, the truck driver, uh, who killed his family, that incident happened off of Highway 182 as well. Um, and so Sam and Dean dress up as, investigators, and they go and visit the truck driver in jail, or I guess in a holding cell at the police station. And he tells them that he just blacked out. He doesn't remember anything. And he woke up in his truck at the cannery where he was going to be delivering. And he tells them that he was giving this girl a ride and he thinks that she took off. He doesn't know what happened to her. So then they go out into the police station, and Bobby's there too. And they review the camera footage, the security footage at the gas station um, where the truck was. And they see the truck driver, and then they see Eve walking around the gas station in her nightgown. And they're like, oh my God, it's her. And then she looks up at the camera and her face looks horrific. It's like kind of staticky around her face. And it's like really, really scary. And they all go, oh my God, what is that? They've never seen anything like that.
Especially since Dean, like right before, was like, ooh, hello, like kind of
Yeah.
interested in this like cute girl. It's like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, nope.
Just
She's a
kidding.
demon or evil.
So funny. And she looks insane. It's really a creepy effect. Let me see. So they say that they've never seen anything like it, and they're just like, what, what the hell is this? And they're like, well, if this is the mother of all, we don't have shit. We don't know of any way to destroy her. And Bobby's like, well, we shouldn't even try. We should just run. Like, that's what needs to happen. So while they're talking about it, the police get a call about a guy who started shooting at the cannery. So Bobby goes to find out what happened while Sam and Dean stay behind. And so they're posing as FBI. So Bobby's in like his slick trench coat acting as FBI. And he goes to the crime scene and starts poking around. And then suddenly they're like, oh, is this like an FBI convention? And he's like, what do you mean? And he looks over and Rufus is there in a trench coat, also posing as FBI. Hey, Rufus, what up?
I love that so much. And I love that like their FBI looks are both in trench coats. So cute.
Yeah, there's like a uniform. And so they start talking, they step aside from everyone and talk about what's happening. And they find out that they've both been tracking all of those weird incidents that are coming down Highway 180. And Rufus tells Bobby that the police killed the shooter, so they can't interrogate him. And then he says that they should partner up on this job. And at first, Bobby's not into it, but the more the merrier. So they decide to partner up. We cut to Rufus and Bobby at the morgue looking at the body of the shooter. And Bobby looks down and sees something like sticking out of his ear. And so he gets a Q-tip and swabs it and pulls out this dark goo that's just in this guy's head. And Rufus is like, that's not ectoplasm. What the hell is this? He's like smelling it and looking at it like really confused. And Bobby's like, this is something new. And Rufus is like, what are you talking about? There isn't anything new. So that freaks them out. And they realize that both of the guys who snapped, the truck driver and this guy, both worked at that cannery. So then we quickly cut to a scene where Rufus and Bobby are pulling up to the cannery at night at the same time that Sam and Dean are pulling up. And Sam and Dean are so happy to see Rufus. They're so excited to see him. And it's really cute.
Yeah. It is really cute. You can tell they like actually really love each other, their little group. And they
Yeah.
haven't seen each other in forever.
Yeah. It's adorable. And Dean's like, okay, did everybody pack a snack? Let's go. So they break into the cannery and start checking it out, with flashlights, walking around. And then suddenly they run into Gwen and Samuel Campbell, our faves.
Yep. But I actually kind of like this episode because bye-bye. Bye-bye, Gwen. Bye-bye, Samuel.
Justice
We don't have
is
to worry
done.
about you anymore,
I
hopefully.
know.
Yep.
Yeah, in her final moments, I actually kind of liked Gwen. It was like she redeemed herself and then she just died, and that was cool. Just kind of be done with that. And then same thing with Samuel. He did not redeem himself at all. It was way worse. But at least we're done with that shit. And it was a pretty sweet ending for him. So as soon as they see them and Dean sees Samuel, he walks right up to him and pulls out a gun and points it at his fucking head. And he like cocks it like he's about to shoot him. And then Sam stops him, like pulls his arm down, and Dean's like, I said I would fucking kill him, basically. Like, don't stop me. And Bobby's like, okay, y'all take a walk, take Dean out for 5 minutes. And so Sam takes him out into the hallway, and Dean's arguing with him like he deserves it. And Sam's like, I know, I agree with you, but don't kill him yet. We need to know why he's here. We need to know what he knows. Let's just get some information and see what's happening here. So back in that room with Samuel, he tells Bobby, oh, you're the guy pretending to be their father. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, that was real messed up. Like, why would he? I don't know.
I
Why would he
hate
even
him.
think that that's okay? I know. I hate him so much.
He's the worst. And then Bobby's like, well, somebody has to, which is cute. And then Sam had also gone back into the room, but Dean's still outside by himself. But Samuel can tell that Sam has gotten his soul back, and he makes some snarky remark about it. And then Samuel tells them that they're hunting a demon from purgatory named Eve. She calls herself Mother, and all the creatures and monsters can trace themselves back to her. And then Samuel tells Bobby that, because Bobby says something like, about how he thinks he knows, like Samuel, and he's like, you don't know anything about us. And Bobby's like, I know that you would throw your kin to hungry ghouls. And Gwen is like, what? She doesn't know.
Yeah, that was actually really surprising. And so, yeah, I totally get what you mean where you were like, "Oh, I'm kind of starting to like Gwen." Um because yeah, I definitely had that thought too like, "Oh, I thought she was just as bad as the others, just
Mm-hmm.
kind of thought, "Oh, she's like Samuel. She's
Like, what's his face,
kind of cold
Christian?
and ruthless." But exactly, yeah, who ended up being a demon, but No, I mean, if you kind of think back, she's been pretty reasonable, I guess, in
Hmm.
certain cases. So, yeah, it is surprising here that she had no idea like what Samuel had done.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. So she's really
Hmm.
surprised, and Bobby's like, "Yeah, why don't you go ask Dean?" And she says, "Good idea," and like looks at Samuel and walks out to go find Dean. So then she just walks into the room where Dean is hanging out by himself, and she says, "Is it true that, he tried to kill you?" And Dean's like, "Yes." And he tells her, in a very short story what happened, and she's shocked. And he's like, "But there's something I need to tell you too." And she's like, "What?" And then he pulls out a gun and shoots her in the stomach. The fuck?
I do feel like they were just kind of like, how with this episode, how can we just get rid of these Campbells like as quick as possible?
Bang bang. They got pew
But
pewed.
yeah, that was very surprising.
Yeah, it was very surprising. And everybody hears the gunshot. All the other guys come running into the room with them and they try to revive Gwen, and Dean is nowhere to be found. So Sam runs off to try and find Dean. He's got his gun pulled. And they're, still trying to revive Gwen, but unfortunately, she is gone. So then Sam comes back after trying to find Dean, but no luck. And so they know at this point that he's been taken over by something. Like Sam uh, correctly assumes, whatever possessed those guys and made them snap has now got Dean. And they're like, okay, great. So they lock down the entire building, lock all the doors, make sure no one can get out, and they go searching for Dean. And then Sam warns Samuel and tells him, "By the way, we're going to find Dean alive, or I'm going to put a bullet in your head." Damn.
Yeah, crazy. I love that. I love like yeah, we get some really interesting Sam here. Like
Mhm.
even though he has his soul back, he is a changed man for
Totally.
sure, especially later on what we see
Hmm.
from him.
Yeah, and he does say one line. I don't think I took a note of it, so I'll just say it now. But there was one line in particular where he was like, I don't remember that year, but I do remember a little bit of Samuel, and what I do remember is not good. So he's not on his side.
Yeah, no. He could just sense how he is.
Yeah, exactly. So they all split up to look for Dean, and suddenly Sam gets this idea to call Dean's phone, and he calls his phone and it starts ringing, and it's where Rufus is searching. And so Dean, comes out from behind this pillar where Rufus has his gun drawn, and everybody else comes running. And they're trying to all calm down, but Dean's freaking out because he says that he just had like a worm thing crawl out of his ear. And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" Gross. And then Dean's like, "What happened?" And Samuel tells, "You killed Gwen. That's what happened." And he's like, "What?" He doesn't remember that at all. So they check him and look inside of his ear, and there's some of that dark goo in there that they found on the shooter. And so Bobby convinces them all to give up their weapons, put all their weapons in a bag, and lock them away so that if any of them get taken over, they can't kill each other so easily. So they all do that, but Samuel is very reluctant. He's the last one to do it because he's a dick. Um, but they get his gun off of him. And so then,
Yeah.
oh, go
And
ahead.
I'm sorry, did they mention like how or like why the worm escaped from Dean? Did it just like sense danger or something and it just
No, they
exited
didn't
it out,
say.
said fuck it and just left?
I guess.
Because the other ones, they had to like force it out with the electricity, you know?
Yeah, there had to be a
It was just
reason.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't go there with him.
Strange.
Hmm. So once they give up all their guns and they're in this locked building with this creature that they don't know how to kill, they're like, okay, so what's our plan? So Bobby and Rufus decide to make some calls to some of their hunter friends and see if anyone has ever heard of this kind of monster, try and get some info. While they're making calls, they're all just kind of like sitting around and waiting in this room. And Samuel gets up to leave, and Sam stands up like he's going to follow him. And he's like, again, an a-hole. And he's like, calm down. I'm just going to the bathroom. And he's like, so unless you want to hold it for me. And then like pushes past Sam.
It's so gross.
It's so gross. Ugh.
I mean,
Um,
okay, wait. I don't love Samuel, but I do enjoy those comebacks. Like it's a little funny and enjoyable.
he's just such a twat. That's
Yeah.
funny. So, let me see. So he leaves, he walks out of the room, but Sam and Dean just look at each other and then get up and go follow him because they don't trust him. And then Bobby and Rufus are talking, and Bobby's like, you know what? We haven't gotten any information. No one's got anything on this thing. I think we either need to just let it be, we just sit here with our thumbs up our butts, or we go in with guns blazing. And Rufus turns to him and says, like Omaha? And then Bobby gets really pissed. He's like, you know what? Screw you for bringing up Omaha. That was really low. And he just walks off. And we're like, oh, what happened in Omaha? Okay.
Yeah. No, that was I don't know that we ever get a sense of like what happened in Omaha.
Yeah.
I was gonna Google it right now because I wonder if like they've taken the time to like do it in a comic book or something because I want to know. Like,
I do too. Obviously, it sounds like it was really bad.
yeah.
And it was Bobby's fault. So I'm very curious too.
And somebody died. Somebody that Rufus cared about.
Yeah. Rufus's lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That would be a good side story. Let me know what you find. I'm curious. After Sam and Dean follow Samuel, they find him in a locker room and they corner him. It's kind of a standoff. And Dean asks Samuel how he sleeps at night. And Samuel's like, I sleep great. He tells them that he doesn't blame Dean for wanting to kill him, but he's not going to apologize for anything. Um, and then Sam's kind of arguing with him, and Samuel's like, look, what I did pales in comparison to what you did this past year. And that seems to really scare Sam because he still doesn't know a lot of what he's done. We've kind of had those episodes so far where he's gotten bits and pieces and it's really disturbed him. But this is, I don't know if Samuel just knows that this is the thing that he's really cutting to the core with Sam here because he doesn't like not knowing the bad things that he did. So then Dean tells Samuel, he's like, look, the only reason you're still alive is because we're doing a job. The minute that we kill this thing, you're next. And Samuel's like, okay. And he starts to turn around and we see some of the black goo coming out of Samuel's ear and he sticks his hand in his pocket. And as he's turning around to pull a gun out of his pocket and shoot Dean, Dean takes him down and uh, they knock him out. So good job, guys. Oh, sorry. They didn't
Um,
actually knock him out. He ended up running away, but they fought for a minute. So that,
you know
yeah, go
what,
for it.
Christine? I have that answer about what happened in Omaha.
Oh, tell me.
So apparently, this is from Bobby Singer's Guide to Hunting, which is an officially licensed book, so it's completely canon.
Okay.
Um, but it says that Rufus had a daughter and that Bobby was on a really complicated hunt with Rufus and needed an extra hand. So he called Rufus's daughter to be a lookout or a driver, or maybe both. And before they could kill the monster, it killed his daughter, and that Rufus never forgave Bobby for it.
It was his daughter.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then he does, there's this one extra bit that I'm reading here. It says Bobby explains that he parted ways with Rufus after that and returned to Sioux Falls for quote unquote self-imposed exile because he didn't feel like he had any business trying to protect people when he couldn't even protect his partner's daughter.
Wow. Ugh. That's really messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And you know,
I really like that explanation too of like why Bobby is living in Sioux Falls. Just kind of hold up.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I have to say that even though, it's kind of painful for Bobby and I really felt for him, and that was obviously years ago and it's still really painful, I totally get where Rufus is coming from. Because I also have had those situations where, I feel like I can move on and still know people or care about them and have a relationship with somebody. And this hasn't happened with many people, right? But I have been in that situation where something has happened where I felt like I could never actually forgive it. It's kind of like we're going to move on. But that happened. And I'm not going to pretend like it didn't happen. And it also doesn't matter if you apologize and you feel bad about it because it still happened. And you can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
I get it.
I think, and totally. And I think that's such a big thing that happened that, yeah, obviously, especially if if Rufus didn't, obviously, I mean, for probably a lot of people, didn't want his daughter involved in hunting,
Right.
then that would have been terrible, of course.
Totally. Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel for Bobby, but yeah, I still feel for him, but yeah, I feel for Rufus, man. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about who got the worst end of the deal, you know, it's Rufus.
Mhm. Yeah. And whatever happened, this kind of explains Bobby's reaction to Rufus in this episode, I think, because he didn't fight with him. After Rufus said that, I don't think he really retorted back in a way where it was like, oh, but, there's no buts. Like, so
Right.
I think Bobby gets it.
Yeah. He just let it go. He wasn't gonna push it.
Hmm.
Well, that's really good to know. Thank you for that. I was really curious. And that just makes it so much worse to know it's his daughter. Like I was just thinking wife, like I just went there automatically. The way that they were talking about it, it sounded like wife, but that puts a different spin on it. And it's really like no parent should have to lose a child. Okay, so yeah, Samuel is not knocked out. He runs away. And Bobby's like, okay, I think we need our weapons back. So he goes back to the locker, gets all of their guns and everything out that they had put away. And Samuel has gotten away and he's somewhere in the building. So they decide that they all need to stick together to look for him. They're walking through the dark building, and suddenly Sam notices a booby trap that was set up and that they almost trip. So they carefully step over this like taut string that's holding this looks like a really heavy like trash can that's been weighted down that would just drop on somebody's head. So they get past the booby trap.
Yeah, it's like some Goonies shit.
It really is. I was like, is there like some like gasoline or something in there? Like I don't really know what this is. They get past the booby trap and suddenly all the lights go out and the sliding door slides between Sam and everyone else and cuts him off from the group. And so they're yelling through the door and they can't get it open and they have to go around to connect with each other again. So Sam heads off on his own and comes up
And
on,
if I might just interrupt you for a
yes,
second, we do get a son of a bitch at this point.
Son of a bitch. Sam!
That
worth
was important.
worth
It was
it.
important for me to interrupt you so I could play that.
It was totally worth it. Yeah. So Sam like sneaks up and finds Samuel being really fucking weird. He's like standing in the dark with his back to Sam and it seems like he's holding something. He's just acting like a fucking weirdo. And so he turns
Maybe he
around.
was peeing.
Yeah, exactly. He turns around and looks at Sam and Sam tells him to drop his gun and he doesn't do it. And he starts trying to like talk to Sam and like walk closer and closer to him and Sam tells him to stop and he doesn't do it. And he's like, "Don't you want to know about your little summer vacation? You know, I can tell you everything." And Sam's like, "Yeah, I want to know, but stop exactly where you are." And he doesn't listen and he still has his gun and walks towards Sam. And Sam shoots him in the fucking head.
Samuel is dead. Gone.
Ding
Thank
dong.
goodness.
That bitch is dead.
Not nice knowing you.
So here's the kicker about Samuel's gruesome death at the hands of Sam. He shoots him, and then nothing comes out of his ears. Nothing comes out. And Sam's standing there waiting for something to come out, and it doesn't. And this look of just like dread comes over his face.
Because, well, and that's interesting too, right? Because you realize, like, I think in the moment when he shot him, I thought, oh, like he fucking shot him knowing he's Samuel, or like not even caring whether or not he's Samuel or the worm. Like, because Samuel was talking shit at the time and was like coming closer to him. But afterwards, he kind of realized, oh, okay, like he maybe legitimately thought this guy was uh, the worm, you know?
Right. But honestly, Sam, I feel like you don't need to be worried about that because you were pointing a gun at him and like giving him clear instructions about not coming any closer and dropping his weapon and doing all the things he should have done if he wanted to stay alive. And he didn't do any of them. So, bye.
Yeah. And he was kind of a dead man also because Dean was like,
Mm.
I'm going to fucking kill you next time I see you.
Yeah. He was going to go either way pretty soon. But it's a
Yeah.
little crazy because he doesn't see anything come out. And then the rest of the guys come in because they heard the gunshot and they were close to Sam. So they walk up and all they see is Samuel dead on the ground and Sam holding the gun. And they're afraid that, since Sam has been alone now, that maybe he is possessed by this thing. And so Bobby tells him to drop his gun, and Sam very slowly puts his gun on the ground, and Rufus cuffs him until they can be sure that he's safe. And so they take Samuel back to some well lit room and check his ears, but they don't find any goo. And they're like, okay, well, just to be sure, we're going to have to crack him open. So Rufus asks Bobby if he has a cranial saw in the car. And Bobby goes, of course I do. So
That really made me laugh. I love that. I was
of
like,
course I have one.
of course he would answer that way. Like, of course. Like, why would you
Duh.
even ask me that?
That's so funny. So Rufus and Bobby go to get the cranial saw out of the car while Sam and Dean stay behind with Samuel's body. Sam's basically watching Samuel and Dean is watching Sam while he's still cuffed. So then Sam and Dean are talking, and Sam is obviously upset that Samuel could have possibly not been possessed when he killed him. But Dean's on board for all of it. He's like, you did the right thing. And Sam says, yeah, but I can't help but wonder what Mom would say. And Dean says, I think she would say that just because you're blood doesn't mean you're family. You have to earn that. And I think he's right.
Yeah, you do. I think so too, and it's something obviously that we've talked about like a million times already, because it's such a major theme of the show. But yeah, I mean, we don't need we don't need Samuel. Like
No,
Sam and
nobody
Dean do
needs that
not
kind of
need
help.
Samuel, is what I mean. Yeah. that he was not family in any sense except by blood, but otherwise that guy was no good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Not necessarily on the level of like wanting to kill each other. This is obviously a pretty extreme characterization, but you can't pick your family.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so they're done talking, and suddenly all the lights in the building come back on, and Bobby and Rufus are back. Bobby, warns them. He's like, "We're about to crack open your grandpa's grapefruit, so take a breather." So Sam and Dean leave the room, and uh, as soon as they do, Bobby and Rufus start talking. And Bobby's like, "Hey, Rufus, I need to talk to you about something. Um, Omaha was my fault." And Rufus tries to brush it off and say, "No, it wasn't. Don't worry about it." But Bobby's like, "No, really, like, listen to me. I'm really sorry, and you lost her because of me." And then Rufus just stops him and he says, "Bobby, you can blabber all day, but it wouldn't change a thing. And I will never forgive you for what happened. Never. So change the subject."
Hmm.
And it's really shocking. I don't
It's
think
so
we
sad.
expect that conversation
I
to go
know.
that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting because at first Rufus was really trying to kind of just brush it aside and kind of in a very polite way, like
Right.
the same way that somebody whenever they ask you like how are you
Hey, are you
and
okay?
you say,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I'm
I'm
fine.
fine."
Yeah.
But really you're like, "Oh no, I want the world to end."
I'm dying inside.
It's the
Why do you
very very
ask?
much the same way. Exactly. So yeah, so he was just trying to be like super nice, and then Bobby kind of pressed it, and it was like, oh, like no, it's not really the response that he had wanted at
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, definitely. But he drops it. After that, he's not going to push it anymore. So, they look down at Samuel, and Rufus turns on the cranial saw, and they start slicing into Samuel's head. And then suddenly, Samuel's eyes pop open and he throws them off. And then they're both on the ground, and
Ugh.
Samuel gets up and blocks the door so that Sam and Dean can't get in. But they can see through the glass in the door and can see what's happening. Then they fight for a while. It's just kind of some scrambling inside the room while Sam and Dean are trying to break the door down. And they see Bobby shove Samuel into like an electrical box with some exposed wires that are live, and it electrocutes him, and it drives the worm out of his head, and his dead body just drops to the floor. So, okay.
It was kind of a cool effect.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. So now they know that it doesn't like electricity, but they don't know where it went. And it could be in any of them because Bobby and Rufus were on the floor in the room until Sam and Dean were able to bust in. And Sam and Dean didn't have eyes on each other the whole time. So they don't really know where it is right now. And it could be in anybody. Um, so Sam suggests that they all just get a little bit electrocuted, just a little zapped, to make sure it's not in them.
Yeah, I that was so cuz how do you even control like the amount of like electrocution that
I
you're going to
don't
get?
know. I don't
I
know.
did I did like that, Rufus had made a comment to Bobby like when he brought out that cranial saw and he's like, "Hey, what the hell's up with these wires?" And Bobby's like, "Oh, like it still works, no problem." And it just so happens like, "Oh no, this is incredibly dangerous." Like they just start electrocuting each other, you know?
Maybe it wasn't really as safe as you thought.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So I mean, I guess, whatever. They don't have a better plan, so they go along with this. Um, and Sam gets the live wire, and Dean just sticks his arm out. He wants to get it over with, and so he puts it onto his arm and zaps him, and nothing comes out of his ears. And they're like, okay, he's safe. And then Sam just all of a sudden does it to himself, and he's okay too. And then they turn the wire to Rufus, and he's like real iffy about it. He's like, man, I got a pacemaker, which I get that. That's a legitimate concern. Um, and Bobby's like, what? I didn't know you had a pacemaker. And he's like, yep, had it since Bush Jr. term 1. Also, FYI, I'm down 3 toes.
Oh my God, that made me crack up.
Yeah, me too.
That was so funny. I wonder, like, it made me wonder, like, after he said that he had lost 3 toes, it made me wonder if the pacemaker was because of some, like, hunting accident or something. Did something happen where it, like, messed up his heart and he had to get a freaking pacemaker because of it?
I
That would have
wonder.
been crazy.
And is it the same incident in which he lost his 3 toes? Who knows?
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
I need that story.
Crazy, crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, poor Rufus. But then he's like, okay, fine, just do it. And he goes through with it, and Dean zaps him, and he acts like it fucking hurts, which I would imagine it did. But he's okay. Nothing comes out of him. Doesn't seem to mess with his pacemaker too much. He seems okay. So then he takes the wire and turns it on Bobby. And Bobby's like, well, yeah, I don't have anything to hide, so just go ahead. But he's kind of like looking around shiftily and like backing up and like has his hand behind his back. And Rufus is like, okay,
That
we'll
made
just.
me so mad.
He's like, well, just stand
Because I
still,
was like,
Bobby.
yeah, he's clearly acting weird.
Yeah.
Rufus did not have to die.
No, he should not have been so close to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. So he's acting super shifty already. And yeah, Rufus is like, okay, buddy, we'll just stand still for a second and I'll zap you. And he's like, okay, just one thing. And Rufus is like, what? And he pulls his hand out from behind his back and has a huge knife and just stabs him right in the chest.
It's so messed up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam and Dean are like horrified, and they surround Bobby, and they're like, there's only one of you and there's 2 of us. And they very handily take him down. Bobby goes after Sam, and he grabs him and turns him around, and Dean just punches him as hard as he can in the face and knocks him out. And then
Mm-hmm.
Bobby wakes up duct taped to a chair. Sorry, bud. And Rufus is gone. We don't come back to that. He's just.
Yeah, that was really tough. I was not expecting Rufus to die, obviously, because he's made it so far. Like you said at the beginning of our episode, he has gone through so much. He's lost 3 toes and has a pacemaker. Um, and now for him to die just because like of Bobby, and I mean, I don't know, like again, Bobby's I feel like going to be real fucked up after this because his last interaction with Rufus wasn't great either.
No.
And I think that's going to probably weigh heavily on him.
Yeah. I thought about that too, because now he feels like he's killed Rufus and his daughter. Like he's responsible for the deaths of that family, his friends.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And on top of that, he's already dealing with the guilt of his wife too,
Yeah.
which is it's just insane. It's so much to put on like one character.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for Bobby so much, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And he keeps trying to do the right thing, and it just, I guess this line of work, you just can't control it, but it's a lot for one person for sure. And we love Bobby. We don't want to see that for him. So Bobby wakes up, duct taped to the chair, and Dean gives him a little zap with the live wire just to kind of let him know what he's dealing with. And he tells the thing in Bobby, to get comfy. And then in this really like low, weird voice, it's like, I am comfy. It's nice in here. And you're like, ew.
Yeah, it was like very sudden. Especially since like we had already seen this like worm thing in Dean and it didn't have this like weird voice at all. And all of a sudden it's like all coming out,
Yeah.
this devilish thing, whatever it is, because they don't really explain like what it is.
No, and it says like you don't have a name
Just
for
some
me.
entity.
So there's no like name for this creature.
Mm,
So it's like, oh yeah, I'm
just some
nice and
ancient
comfy.
thing.
Yeah. And so Dean's like, well, we have some questions. And the thing is like, ask away. I've been waiting for you to ask. And so he asks it like what it is. And it says, you haven't got a name for me. I'm new. Eve cooked me up all by herself. So that's creepy. And then he says, by the time she's done, there will be more creatures than humans. You will live in pens. And it says, and we will eat your children and call it veal. What? So they're like, why are you here? And he's like, you think I'm here to just mess with a couple of cannery workers? I led you here to give you a message. And they're like, well, what is it? It's like, you're all going to die. All it is from here on out is pain and, blah, blah, blah. This message we
Yeah,
feel
just
like,
like doomsday.
yes, this message we feel like we've heard so many times before from other like demons and baddies. And it's like, okay, blah, blah, get to it. Cool message. Thanks. You brought me here for that. What a waste of time.
Yeah, people died for this.
It reminds me of that that TikTok I sent you a while back of that woman pretending to make fun of her kidnapper. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
She's like
Yes,
pretending to be
this is
tied
too
up.
funny.
She's like, "Ooh, what are you gonna do to
Like,
me? Torture me?" Oh, that's a really nice dog.
and making fun of his house.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a really beautiful house.
Oh man.
So, then Dean zaps it again, and it tells them that they can't kill it without taking Bobby with him. And then Dean's like, well, I guess we have to do what Bobby would want us to do. And Sam grabs the duct tape. He tapes Bobby's mouth and nose. And then Dean tells Bobby to hang on. And he electrocutes him with a live wire for a long time until black goo runs out of all of his ears, nose, everything, out of the tape. And then he goes limp and Sam pulls the tape away and this worm thing is like fried and falls out of Bobby's ear. And they're trying to revive him, but there's no response and the scene cuts. So that was pretty intense. I mean, I liked that they were right on the same page with each other because they're right. That is what Bobby would want them to do. And it was really tough for them, but they just did it anyway because they're not fucking around anymore.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising that they didn't hesitate, but very good that they didn't. I think it mainly happened or they mainly decided to do that just because it was like threatening to like spread. I mean, this thing, it was just like one little worm thing. So if it like reproduced or something and a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of them spawn, like, I mean, what would happen, you know?
Right.
And that is true. Like I totally forgot or I totally didn't catch that line rather where it said like I'm new, like the mother of
Mm,
all created
yeah.
me. So it kind of like that idea of like this mother of all didn't I don't know, I guess like played out in my mind a little bit differently. I had seen it more of a God, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Like ancestral type of thing where it's like, okay, well she was this first, but then, there are these species that like came from her in a more of like an evolution manner.
Right.
But rather this means that like she actually gives birth to like each new animal or animal,
Right.
each new creature,
Right. She could
um,
still create
which
like
is
new
strange.
things.
It's, yeah, very weird.
Um, just for funsies, I guess, I'm gonna like sick some weird little worm on these people to give them a lame message. I really thought it was gonna be something better, but I guess not.
Yeah, yeah, it was a little of a letdown.
Like that's what
Also just
Rufus
because
died
like we were
for?
finally introduced to Eve. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And also like we've just been introduced to Eve and like you're not even gonna like show us to her, like, you know, they're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of building it up. I get that. But like I want to see her. I want to see who this mother of all is and interact with her already.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
totally. And I just can't help but feel like, I don't know. She's got to have like I kind of get the plan, but like you this worm thing couldn't have given us a little bit more information about how this is supposed to happen. I don't know.
yeah, it's weird.
I was really disappointed by that. I was like, okay, what's the point of you? But that's okay. Let me see. So then we cut to Sam and Dean. They're in a graveyard and standing over a fresh grave and looking down at it, very sad. And there's just kind of a moment of silence while they stand there. And then they hear something behind them and look around, and Bobby is walking up to stand between them. So Bobby's not dead. Yay.
Yeah, he's totally fine. What the hell?
Yeah. And Dean is looking down at the grave again and he says, I never took Rufus for the religious type. And Bobby's like, yeah, no, he wasn't really. And then Bobby starts kind of waxing poetic and talking about how, I was just a job. I was just a mechanic. And then my wife went crazy and I stabbed her. And then this guy busted in and doused her with holy water and got rid of the demon inside of her. And Rufus took care of me. Like I would have gone away forever for killing her, but he cleaned up and, taught me a bit about what this world is like and about hunting. And he tells them that he and Rufus hunted together for years, like Sam and Dean. They were on the road together, they traveled and took jobs. And then Omaha happened, and Rufus could never let it go. And I guess we found out in that story that you looked up too, that supplemental story, that Bobby took it really hard himself and kind of like exiled himself in Sioux Falls. So they kind of broke up as a hunting team. And Dean says that Rufus should have forgiven him. And Bobby's like, no, it's okay. Um, but Dean's like, look, y'all were family. And I know that if anything happens to any of us, no matter what happens, we're good. Let me just say it right now. We are good. So, Sam's like, are you sure? Because some of us have done some things that are not so great. And Dean's like, no, yeah, I'm sure. Let's just call it a clean slate. Then Bobby pulls out a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label, which is some expensive shit, and pours some on Rufus's grave and takes a sip. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot there. I'm really shocked because I didn't realize, or I hadn't realized, that Rufus was the one who taught Bobby how to hunt,
Yeah.
and that had happened, that he had been there when those terrible things had happened to Bobby's wife, and Bobby had to take action. I think I had just thought that Bobby had learned how to hunt the same way that like John had, just on his own, just searching for
Yeah.
the demon, or whatever it was, to kind of like take revenge.
I did
Um,
too, because we know
so this
about
kind of makes it,
like what
yeah,
happened with his wife. And so I just thought like, okay, that thing happened and it opened up his eyes to this like supernatural world. And so he went out like looking for it and like taught himself about it. But obviously not.
yeah, exactly. And so this just kind of, I don't know, just changes, I think, the dynamic of the relationship between Bobby and Rufus, in my mind at least, because it really was. I had just seen them as partners, like we had just known them as partners, but Rufus was so much more. He really was a teacher to Bobby as well.
Right.
Um, and so that's of course very sad that like that was broken for him, because like we've seen how that can be for others, like Dean, when John as his teacher kind of like went away and stuff, and how that impacts someone, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
But yeah, very tough. Poor
it is
Bobby.
very tough. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't know that either, and it gives you a whole new appreciation for Rufus. What a really, really good guy, and we're gonna miss him. I know I'll
Hmm.
miss him. I really enjoyed having him pop up in every episode because he was a great, like comedic relief for the episodes that he was in. Um,
Yeah.
but also super knowledgeable, and he would like really progress things, and I don't know. He was really a good one. This episode is dedicated to Rufus.
Yeah, he really was. It really is. I don't know. I would love to. I'm sure this exists, but I would love to read like some Rufus origin stories. Like what's
Oh
his
yeah.
origin story? Why did he start hunting? I just imagine like a young Rufus though hunting. Like I think that would have been really badass.
Yeah.
I would love
Well, and now
that
we know he
sort of
has a
story.
daughter. What happened to her mother? Was that like, were they just not together, or, like, what's his
Yeah.
backstory? For sure. I want to know about him now.
Oh yeah. There's a lot there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we did get one son of a bitch. We did not get any tears, which is surprising,
Mhm.
because there was some shit that went down in this
Yeah,
episode. Weird, right?
that is surprising.
And I think that's all that I had. The next episode is episode 17 of season 6. My Heart Will Go On. Um, I don't know. Any
Yep.
other last thoughts
Um,
or?
there was a lot that I did not particularly enjoy about this episode. I guess I didn't like dislike things about it, but like just like you, it was sort of like, well, what the fuck is this worm thing? Like, why are we dealing with this worm? Why can't we just see the mother of all? Like, I want to see that.
Right.
So there's that. Of course, I'm not happy that Rufus died, but I do love all of the backstory that was provided to us, um, about Bobby, about Rufus, about the relationship, and I love this Sam. I
Me
love like
too.
that. Not not just like soul or soulless Sam is a little bit different, but like obviously what happened to him actually has consequences, because that's when I think when storytelling does something to characters, it's like really big, but then there's like no aftermath.
Mm,
That's what kind of pisses me off.
yeah.
And maybe we've seen that here and there with Supernatural, right? At some points. Um, but I'm glad that it's not that. We're actually getting those lasting, impacts with Sam, because we saw that with Dean too after he went to hell.
Yeah,
And
that
so
really
it
messed
makes
him up and
sense,
made a difference.
Mhm.
It's interesting. I like this bit, Sam, I think better because he's kind of a mix of the two. He's almost kind of evened out in a weird way. Like now that he has his soul back,
Yeah.
obviously he's more emotional and understanding and like has a conscience, but also he's not messing around. Like he's here to do business, and he's much more like realistic, it seems like, about things.
Yes. Yeah, I think before Sam would have been more invested, excuse me, it may be like I don't know, kind of like pulling out all the stops to save someone or and I'm not really thinking about like specific examples, but just he 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 gravitated more towards like the light part of things or like the good moral choices, quote unquote. But now I think he has a better sense of like when you have to kind of um give up some of those morals and do things for like the greater good, you know?
Mhm.
It's a little bit more gray. I think he accepts that a little bit more. Um and I think he's always kind of been like that, but this is to kind of a new level because it's a little darker, you know.
Yeah.
He was just able to kill Samuel like nothing, pretty
He just
much.
did it.
So,
I liked it.
yeah, in the moment he felt it afterwards, right? But like in the moment he was just like, "Nope, you're dead."
Mhm. But that was the right decision. Like, even if, like I was kind of saying earlier, in that situation, even if that worm had not been in Samuel's head, he was not following clear instructions from a man pointing a gun at him. Like, you're just asking to die.
Yeah,
So he did the
exactly.
right thing to stay safe and stay
Mhm.
alive. Like, he just did it. And that was the right decision. Um, yeah, so what do you, okay, I'm going to throw this out here. What do you think of like the 50s or even maybe a little bit further up, like 45 up?
Okay, let me see. I have no idea where I wanted to start on the list, so let me take a
Yeah, I just
look.
started at the top and kept going down.
Um So, for those of you listening, number 50 right now is at the end, which is season 5, episode 4. That's the one where Dean is in that alternative universe. And then, like, number 60 is Jump the Shark, season 4, episode 19, where we meet Adam. Yeah, I definitely think it's better than like that low. So I will go back up to think about
Like 40s.
that.
Yeah, because 40, we just watched recently Live Free or Twy Hard.
Oh.
And I like that better, I think.
See, I was actually going to say I like a lot of these in the 40s better than this episode.
Mhm.
Um cuz we have like sex and violence and like a I don't know if I remember like a virgin specifically. That might be the one actually where
Oh, that was the one
the
with
mother of
the.
all came out.
Was that. No, was that the one with the goddess? Did we just watch? That was recent. Or did I make that up?
Yes.
Let me see.
There was a goddess here and there. Yeah, several local female virgins are disappearing. Oh. Well, I think this is the one actually where the mother of all does is like brought
Oh, okay.
from the earth.
Okay. That's right. With the dragon.
Mhm. The dragons, yes. The
Okay.
dragons.
I'm with you.
So, I mean, because then after that is All Hell Breaks Loose Part 2, which is the season 2 finale, In My Time of Dying, When the Levee Breaks, After
Mhm.
School Special.
I mean, I kind of like all of those better. I'm sorry. And there's not anything in particular about this episode that I just really didn't like. I think it just, I don't know, because maybe just because of the way the episode was set up and it didn't have a whole lot of meaning to it or purpose. Like we had some big events, like some big characters died, but again, like kind of like for what? I don't know. It kind of just feels a little bit
Yeah.
pointless. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the way I feel. And I think the end above, I like all of those episodes a lot better. I think they have a lot more gravitas to them than this, even though Rufus died,
Yeah.
and we got this Bobby reveal. It just feels kind of like, meh,
Mhm.
well, why? I agree.
Yeah, I mean, personally,
So
like
that's kind of where I'm thinking.
I could do that spot, but personally, I'm even like looking at the ones below that too. Death Takes a
Oh,
Holiday, Home is 53, Devil's Trap is 55. I don't know. I think maybe
there's
just
Supernatural Christmas.
I just like, yeah, and that's 56. I just like all of those. But that's just me. I could be I could be persuaded to have it be 51 or, a little bit lower.
No, I think I agree with you. Let me double check because we have a few season 6 episodes actually over here. Two and a Half Men.
Yeah, I don't remember what
That
happened in that.
one was the one oh the shapeshifter one.
Oh, the most recent shapeshifter one. Yes, with the baby.
Yeah, with the baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I do like it better than Jump the Shark and then the rest of them.
I do too. Yeah, because then we go Jump the Shark, Sin City. Yeah. Yeah. What about, do you like it better than Two and a Half Men? I kind of don't.
um, Not really. I think Two and a Half Men had a lot more going on, just plot wise.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I'm
yeah,
actually pretty comfortable with that if you're good with that.
I am. I'm totally comfortable with that.
Okay. Okay. So season 6, episode 16, and then there were none, is going in as the new number 60. And this one's going in the trunk.
Oh, god damn it. I'm
that's the new
sorry.
trunk
I got
sound,
mad because
everybody.
I have to re-upload. Oh god damn it.
Oh
Hold
man.
on, let me get this.
How about this, bitch? You want some trunk? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and that's okay, so that's number 60 out of 120. That's literally at the halfway point of our list.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
Well,
That
okay.
seems right. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It feels good to me to have that there. And I guess we'll revisit later again if we have any other re-rankings, but I feel pretty good about that. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
I think just Mandy, who we had read her email the beginning of the episode, had mentioned at the very end that she was going to go and rate and review us on iTunes. So
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
that. I appreciate that, Mandy. Thank you so much. So yeah, so anybody else who is listening and likes the show for whatever reason, um, please go to iTunes and rate and review us because it helps us out quite a bit. Um, it helps us like with the algorithm, it helps people find the podcast. And so, yeah, we would really appreciate that. We did get, I did notice, a few other people had like bought our t-shirts. So those still exist. It is really cute. So I would ask anybody if you're interested in seeing what that t-shirt looks like, you can go to our website, www.highwaytohellpodcast.com, and there should be a link to it for merch. And so you can see what the t-shirt looks like and, get one if you like it.
Just if you like it. It's pretty cute.
Just like if you I mean, I guess if you like it, like you can buy it. We make nothing off of it. It's just really cute, and it's just I like it.
That's kind of true. But it'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for advertising that. And thank you, Mandy, for your wonderful message. Thank you all, everybody, for listening. Please go to our blog that Kristen mentioned. We have our episodes up on there, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts too. Other than that, we will see you for the next episode. My heart will go on. And until then, we'll see you on the highway to hell. Bye.
Bye.